So here we are at the end of the 39th iDate conference. 39 over 11 years. This is the 11th year we've been doing it in Europe. Third year in a row we're doing it in Cologne. The day before Dimoco, one of the largest internet marketing conferences in the world. About close to about 100 people at the event, I'd say. And mostly dating CEOs, a lot of payment companies. The big showstopper at this event was Facebook. Facebook spoke at this event for the first time and addressed the industry.
As we all know, Facebook shut down ads a year ago, and so they went into a review process. The reason they shut down ads was because people were clicking on the little X by the ad saying they didn't want to see it. So they've actually got an exit rate statistic. It's called XTR. And so we were 3 times the rate that was standard for other ads. So that was not acceptable. They also have a secondary stat, which is for the misleading, offensive, sexually explicit, and inaccurate. Mosey, it's called the Mosey rate. So between those two things, we scored terribly, and we needed to improve. There was a lot of abuse. There were images that weren't getting caught by their automatic reviewing system. So they knew they had to switch to a manual system. So they shut down the entire industry essentially, and then reviewed what would be acceptable and how to go about approaching the industry, and they decided to go with whitelisting. And so a certain number of partners were allowed back into advertising on Facebook. The statistics are looking very good now. In fact, the last statistic on Mosey was 11% versus 11.6%. So we're actually under
and this is super important because a lot of dating sites rely upon Facebook for the majority of their leads, basically.
And the long and the short of it is that they're open to the industry again, but the ads are going to be manually reviewed. They're hiring more people out of Austin, Texas to review those ads. Eventually they'd like to be able to move to doing automatic review of the ads, but for now they're in a holding pattern on manual review. So slowly but surely we're getting the opportunity to roll back into doing Facebook ads, but nothing risque. It's got to be complementary to the Facebook experience, nothing too casual, essentially.
And the second showstopper was Meetic, Alistair, Shrimpton. A lot of time was spent discussing Tinder and whether or not Tinder is a Frankenstein that they've created, which would self-annihilate them. And they don't view that at all. As a matter of fact, they said soon they plan on monetizing Tinder. They didn't say how, but they intend to monetize their Tinder some way. It was speculated, of course, during the final panel, but it's a big mystery.
And apparently ISE has mentioned a number of 75 million in the past, that if they wanted to switch on monetization they could, but right now it's about growth in mobile and with millennials. There was a term that they used, Tinderize. So they're actually Tinderizing a number of the Match.com products. They're looking for inspiration from this product, and so if you look at the Match.com product now, you can see the mobile product, you can see swiping, and there's a continuous flow of profiles. So they're Tinderizing their products.
Plus the company is continually in acquisition mode and continuing to canvass the market. They are seeing companies that are distressed at this point and more desperate in terms of selling, and they are taking advantage of those opportunities. That's what you're seeing as well.
Well, the industry's taking a breath, right? I mean, we're seeing numbers down for online. We're seeing numbers down for revenue. Apparently, the German prediction showed that the numbers were down from a couple hundred million to 188 million euros a year for the German market. So it's the first time really that the industry's taken a dip. It's taking a breath. It's a good time to acquire companies. Those metrics are more reasonable for acquisition than ever.
And that correlates into your session, so all the numbers otherwise for Europe.
There was a number bandied around. The Europe is about $1 billion a year. Worldwide, I think we're at $4 billion. The USA is $2.1 billion. So it's
flat.
It is flat. Well, it's not even flat.
We're increasing users, but we're staying flat in revenue.
We're getting mobile users. It's like the early days. I mean, where we were just going when the industry was starting up.
The early days, everything
it was a land grab. Back in the late 90s. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's the same deal. It was a new media back then. It's a new media now. We felt there was growing pains last year, and that's evidenced in the numbers this year. Comscore numbers for online are down across the board. 33% down in France, for example. And France is the most mature market in Europe. 13.1% of all people online are using internet dating every month. It's the most mature market in all of Europe. But still, that's 33% down for online only. Now, mobile's a different picture. Unfortunately, I don't have mobile numbers. That's going to change very soon. I'm going to be releasing numbers online within a week for mobile from SimilarWeb.
The other one we had was Wayne May from Scam Survivors. Wayne and Carrie Ann, both very passionate individuals with regards to their daily activities of protecting consumers against all forms of fraud and scam, including romance scams, and they went through various methods they see that are commonly popular. They wanted the dating industry to educate their users more about these methods. They'd like to see the amount of scammers going down on their sites. They recognize it'll never go away completely, so they're not that naive. They're quite educated on the dating market as well as also the scammers methods. They want to see the industry engaging the actual users more in terms of them being educated so that they avoid being scammed in the first place.
And of course the key advice that we can give our users is don't send money. Ever. Don't send money. That's a pretty straightforward piece of advice. But we've got to, I think, be better at recognizing patterns and seeing when particular groups of our users have possibly been in a pool that could have been scammed by someone we've recognized as being a scammer. We should be contacting them and saying, don't send money. And don't get caught out as well. The rising trend is towards a blackmail scam. So getting caught out on a video camera and then having that posted on Facebook is what's happening as well.
The bigger thing is that they thought that our filters aren't good enough. And they could be better. But they said despite that some of these scammers are so good, for example, they get actual real world users to actually, pay for scammers' accounts. So that's really hard to detect.
The thing that doesn't change is the scripts. So a big learning point for me was lots of things change, but what they don't change is their actual scripts. Those get reused and reused and reused. And some keywords that bubbled up. They said a profile that has "I hate scammers" or has "scammers keep away" on it is actually a clear sign to other scammers that is actually a scammer's profile. So that's how they signal to each other not to bother scamming each other. We had Matthieu from Net Dating Assistance, which was quite intriguing. Net Dating Assistance is a service that allows users to pay a monthly fee and pay €16 an hour, and then that person poses as that user, helps them with their profile, coaches them, and essentially poses as them to reel in dates and get them on dates. So
it gives you a social life for someone who's so busy that they don't have time to engage actual dating users. And so the idea is they give you a schedule of dates, really.
Yeah, and the point is the concern that we have is that there's in some ways misrepresentation. But, users seem to forgive it. They've only got 15 people. They've been around 3 years. They've got 15 people on the team. At the end of the day, I think it gives us an indication that we're leaving some money on the table because people do have, in some cases, money, but they don't have so much time to give. They want to get out on dates. So essentially what these folks are doing is behaving like matchmakers. They're using the huge selection of internet dating services and behaving like matchmakers. Ultimately, what we could do is introduce a matchmaking test service of our own, or even kind of harness their kind of service to, the part that I have a problem with is the misrepresentation. It's just not wrong. I think that's why their business hasn't grown larger, and they've only got 15 people at this stage. So.
Misrepresentation is definitely an issue. However, the business model, clearly I could see value too. For someone who's an executive who works, 60 hours a week, this gives him a social life where he would never have that kind of time. So that's where the value is. The misrepresentation, of course, comes along with it.
We had the best payment providers panel ever.
Oh,
did I just say that? I think I just said that.
I equated that payments panel to when Nixon went to China, because normally the dating industry is quite standoffish to the payment industry, and that was the one time where you saw it open up. That I discovered was that the payments industry seems to be coming to a single point, and that single point is payments in the fewest clicks possible, the fewest amount of data entry possible. Obviously there needs to be some sort of security code, but sort of the way you sign into Tinder with a one-click sign-in and everything's all filled out. It's the same thing that they're looking at with regards to once a user creates a profile on your site, they already know whether or not they have an account, whether it's Neteller or whatever they want, or any of the sites, and that payment system will be offered immediately.
The key thing that I learned from the session was that you need to look at each country and look at what payment processes are most effective in those particular countries. So for example, in Russia it's Kiwi and Skrill. We've got Onebip, who is particularly strong in Italy. There was a lady in the audience that asked that key question, like, where are you strongest? Where do we absolutely need to have you? So I think it's a key question to ask all of your payment provider options is, where are you strongest? Where are you dominant? And to actually build up that picture. There are certain payment providers that actually are really helpful in that respect.
And nobody answered Burkina Faso. I mean, it was a really good event. Apart from that, we're planning an event next year in Beijing. We're going to come back. That should be very fun because a lot of people said that they are interested in China and the Chinese market. So we'll be doing an event back there again. We're planning on the awards ceremony again next year. So a reminder for those of you watching before October 31st, make sure you make your nomination at iDate Awards.
Great. Well done, Mark.
Thank you. It's good having you at the 39th event. Take care.
Thank you.